Are we having a party here? I don't know.
Welcome to Polishing Profits. Join our three industry experts boasting 140 years of experience as they unlock building service contracting secrets that can revolutionize your business.
So welcome to Polishing Profits and today's episode. And if you saw any of the backstory on this, you'd know we don't know what episode it is. So that's why it's today's episode. So it's evergreen. It doesn't matter when you listen. It's always today's episode. So anyway, I'm Mark Anderson, part of this esteemed panel. I think somebody called me the other day and said, "What are all those old guys you talk with?" And he said, "You look to be he goes, "You look to be the oldest." And I said, "Geez, thanks for the compliment, dude." He knows me real well. He saw us over on one of the LinkedIn threads. Ed, say hey.
Greetings, everyone.
From the Janitorial Electronic Closet.
The electronic janitorial closet.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
I am in my final stages of biodegradation.
We all. Sharon, do you have something better to say than that?
Oh, I can't top that. No.
Okay. And before we let our guest talk, I want to introduce Larry Fagan. He had a full service supply company that served BSCs, the janitorial industry, both BSCs and schools, and if you name it. He took care of them and did a great job with that for 18 years. So you're in for a treat. So rather than me try to remember what he told me 3 seconds before this, I'm going to say, Larry, give us your background and introduce yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. It's truly a distinct pleasure to be with you all. I have shared your podcast with many people and suggested that if they are in a BSc or if they're in cleaning in any way, shape, or form, and they don't watch this, they're really missing out, because the wisdom that you three impart it's invaluable.
Thank you.
You know, you said that I served a lot of people, and that's what my life was all about. But you three, you would all put me to shame. I came and did my best to try and help guys and gals like you, but you were the motor that drove the engine. And I'm honored to be here with you, truly.
Thank you.
I can remember Ed when he had hair.
He didn't have any hair when I met him, and heck, that was 12, 13 years ago. So that was really early on.
Way back.
I met him many, many, many moons ago at an ISSA show, I believe it was. And I was always intrigued in reading his books and just a wealth of knowledge. And I say that in all sincerity. If you're in anything that has to do with cleaning, this is a place to get a lot of information. And I'm honored to be here. I think I'm only here because I've stayed alive this long.
Well, I think we can all lay claim to that.
Well, that was a prerequisite
Amen.
for the invitation.
You know, I think that my part as a janitorial supply company could have been almost like a partner with you all. Mm-hmm. My role was our motto was, we're on your staff, not your payroll. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I really learned early on that the more people I could serve and help to get what they wanted and desired, you know, I would be taken care of. And that always worked for me. And I had a good friend of mine, a business consultant many years ago, God rest his soul, Wayne T. Alderson. He wrote a book called The Theory R of Business Management. He and I spent many, many hours together. He was
You knew him?
Yeah, he was my best friend.
Wow.
And he was my mentor. When I transitioned, I worked for Hilliard Incorporated for 18 years. And then I went to them one day and said, hey, you know, I want to do this on my own, started distributorship. And Bob Roth, who was the president at the time, was excited and said, go for it. We'll help you in any way we can. And the only reason I did that was I wanted to leave something for my children. And now my 3 children are running the company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Wayne said to me, Larry, I'm going to teach you something. that if you pay attention, follow this, you will never have to worry about your bottom line. Of course, I'm leaning in. I want to hear it. He said, if you treat everyone, and I emphasize the word everyone, with love, dignity, and respect, your bottom line will take care of itself. And no truer words have been spoken.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then he went on and improved it.
Yes.
He was in charge of the last operating steel mill in the United States.
It was Pitron Steel. He was put in there to close the plant. They told him, just go sit in the office. We're going to sell the plant. Just don't bother doing anything. And he began painting the locker room for the people, cleaning a lunchroom up. They started a prayer group in the morning. It was a 3-shift, 24-hour day operation. He would stand at the gate and thank people for coming into work.
Wow.
Just a tremendous man. But it was under his tutelage that I started Fagan Sanitary Supply, and he helped me tremendously. And it's all of us. I mean, each one of us, our purpose is serving other people. You know, you have to have a servant's heart to succeed in this business.
Yep.
So Larry,
was-
let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe a couple of specifics or ways that you served the people, or how you embellish that relationship with the BSC?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. Probably the biggest thing, as I said, I'm on your staff, not your payroll. So I go in and meet with a customer, prospective customer, and take an overall view of what they're doing, just as you all do. And some of the key factors that I always find, you know, I'm a salesman. That means you're supposed to sell a bunch of stuff. Well, I did not have that philosophy. I had the philosophy, I'm on your team. So what can I do to help your team? I can reduce your inventory, which I always tried to do. I wanted to have an uncluttered custodial closet. I think I mentioned this to you guys before. CC plus CCC plus CE plus OT equals clean building, CB. Clean custodian. So I would talk to my customer about the appearance of their staff, training their staff, how critical the OT in that formula is ongoing training. You don't just train once and cut them loose. And so I would look at their staff and how to make them look and act and speak and everything that we can do to make them a better quality person representing the BSC in the field. So that was always a key factor. Reduce your inventory. Mechanize as much as you can. We all know that 90% of our business is in labor. And of course, the labor always throws their hands up and says, oh, you want to fire us all? No, we don't want to do that. We want to make you work smarter and easier. If we can make your job smoother and easier, a simple thing, changing an upright vacuum to a backpack vacuum. Yeah, if you're cleaning a mall, you know, have a robotic or an automatic scrubber that you don't have to keep your eye on 24/7. You know, so the products, the equipment, the staff, I would go in and try and do whatever I could to help them in each and every one of those ways.
With talking about that, let's look at how it's done today. The supply of the things that you did, Larry, were very commonplace. We all use people like you, local suppliers that would come out and show you how to strip floors, come out and fix your problems if something didn't work.
Right.
They were really part of your team in helping you get things done.
But that's all there was. That's all we had. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was all we had.
We didn't have all the online stuff or the HD Pro, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's kind of like Fram Air Filter used to say back in the 70s in their first commercial. You can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Absolutely.
And you get what you pay for. And nothing against those places. They're highly used, but they are not the personal service you'll get if you tie in with what Larry's done, his company's continuing to do. They're not gonna put on the jeans and the t-shirt and come out and show you how to fix the floors that their product screwed up and didn't work. They're not going to teach you how to use the machines better. They're not going to be there when you say, I've had a reaction with this, that, or the other thing. And it's what has happened. And my business was built on having someone like Larry on my team, on my side constantly till the day we sold.
Yeah.
We were tied in with our local representatives, and we worked together to get things done. One company, P&R, even had their own chemist. So they were part of a large, of course, everybody got bought like everything else. I'm one of them. And everybody went away into a large organization. But you get the feeling that's not the case today. It's very price driven and a little less on the service side. Is that a fair statement, Larry?
Well, you know what? That's a statement that's generational, Mark. I remember, and you all remember, Cleaning Management Magazine.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that was back in the day, that was like the only source or one of the main sources for our information. And I remember a co-worker of mine at Hilliard, Bruce Windsor, wrote an article, and you could pull that article up today, and the value of that article is the same as it was then today. And it was entitled "The Misconception of Low Bid Buying." And in my opinion, price is the last thing that I want to talk to you about. Right? Price is almost insignificant. My job as a rep for you is to help you reduce that cost. And if you're looking at the bottom of the barrel to buy your supplies, well, call Amazon and tell them you need help stripping a floor at 4 a.m. in downtown, wherever you are.
See how that works. Yeah.
I remember one day I was new with Hilliard, and I learned so much from them. The information that they have, they were one of the first companies to introduce training into our industry. Newton Hilliard, the founder of the company in 1907, he had a wonderful product called Super Shine-On, and they still use it today. He formulated that product, and when the green stuff started to happen, they introduced that to the LEED certification people. And as it was produced since 1907, it was a LEED certified green product. So what I learned from them was invaluable. But I'll never forget, I was new in the company, and I was just learning how to do gym floors. And I had sat with a gentleman in a training class. And you talked, Mark, about having a pair of blue jeans. Well, I was a suit and tie guy every day. I went out in a suit and a tie. And because I'm talking to guys and gals in your caliber, your professionals or the facilities directors, all well dressed. So I dressed like they did. So that was one of the key things. And I went in and was doing I watched a gym floor training program. I left in my suit and tie, went to a school district, and just absolutely remembered and repeated everything that I heard that guy say. But the funny thing that I remember about that was Seneca Valley School District in Western Pennsylvania. And I left that and immediately had an appointment at a couple counties over and was changing my clothes in the car, out of my suit into blue jeans and a t-shirt to go help a guy strip a floor. That's what you do. I always carried multiple sets of clothes.
Yeah. Well, I remember my distributor was like a lifeline to me because there were a couple of occasions, especially early on, when I did not have a floor crew. I had one guy who knew, this much about floor care. And we got stuck in a big community center, and it was 7:00 at night, and we had a mess. We just had just a mess. And so I called my distributor, and I was a new customer for him, and he came right out and he came right out at 7 7:30 at night, he got there in his jeans, ready to work. He brought exactly what we needed to have and took care of the problem. And, we had a happy customer, and I was thankful to him forever. You just can't put a price on that kind of relationship with the local distributor and supply company. You can't.
Let me just throw this in, and maybe you can help us, Larry, on this statistic. But as I understand it, we've had 10,000 local Jansan folks that disappeared.
Yep.
Acquisitions, people leaving the business, folks retiring. So we're dealing with what I think is an endangered species.
Well, you're probably right, Ed, and those that remain standing, like Fagan Supply, I think we are somewhat dinosaurs, but it's a necessary part of your business. If you need that person to bring that value to what you're doing. Unfortunately, it is dwindling. The bigger guys are sucking up and taking over the little houses, and they're becoming monstrosities. But I remember when I first got started, Ed, I'm not an educated guy. I was a street smart guy. And I worked for a building service contractor in Pittsburgh. And, and I say this to any young person who's listening, always give more than what is asked of you. If you do that, if you just got a job, as I did, I lost my job in the steel mill. I took 2 jobs in a building service contractor. Thing that I realized early was that I loved that work. A lot of people look down their nose at the custodial staff. And thank God, in this respect for COVID, it shined a light on who we are and what we do and how valuable we are to everything in the world, our cleanliness.
I heard a quote not too long ago that said, our job is that we save lives.
Amen. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Somebody who's young in this industry, this is a tremendously valuable industry. And if you start off at the bottom rung, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually love cleaning toilets. Restrooms are my favorite place to clean because you can really make a place shine immediately. But I remember when I started with Hilliard, the Jansan company that I worked for, or the BSC I worked for, she saw that I was giving a little bit more, the owner, Helen Pearl, and she said, "Do you want to do some training?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." I didn't know how to do it, but I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And that went from, "Would you like to go sell and find accounts for us?" And I really loved that. And then I started with Hilliard. And the thing I remember when I started with Hilliard, I was at a party one night with a bunch of friends, and they were all chatting, "What do you do?" "I'm an engineer." "What do you do?" "I'm this, I'm that." And I'm thinking, I'm almost embarrassed that I'm a Jansan guy. I'm cleaning toilet bowls. What do you say? Well, I turned that and said, I'm a chemical sales representative, which sounded real big and to me. But what I remember most was I set goals for myself, and I have done that all my life. Right, wrote goals down, dated them, and I had a goal way back then to make $100,000, and I did that early on. It took me 18 months. I'll never forget it. And from that day forward, I was never, ever embarrassed to say that I sold toilet bowl cleaner.
Right.
Good money in our industry. You all know that. You're all successful.
And just for the audience, when did you make the 100K? What year was that?
That was 88.
So in today's dollars, that's probably 2.25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today's dollars, that's probably $225,000.
Hey, there's good money in our industry.
Yep. I don't think we have to argue with the 3 of us about that.
And if you are on the cleaning side, if you're a BSC, if you're a new company starting, and I'm sure you'd all agree, or I wouldn't be here. Find yourself somebody Jansan house or a manufacturer's rep and let them become your best friend, because they'll help you to succeed. And it doesn't take a long time to get a janitorial business up and running. Do you agree?
Agree.
Oh no, it's the easiest thing to start. That's why there's so much competition.
Right.
The barrier to entry is really low.
But it's those who learn how to do it properly.
Right.
I remember early on talking about stripping floors. Well, 3 foot up the wall is part of the floor. You don't just scrub the floor and spit stuff all over the
Yeah.
2 foot
Right.
up the wall and leave it there. Corners and edges, details, all of those things that will elevate your company above the other guy.
Yeah, I think too. Yeah, and it's easy to get into, and it's hard to stay in. You have to do things right, as we've talked about. You have to have the right partners on your side. I'm still a firm believer in the local Jansan person.
Yep.
You guys were telling some fast story that I had one was over Christmas break. Our largest account, there was 400 feet, running feet along a showroom area for a clean room. And it was 12 foot wide, and I got a call. The floors are all, the manager, of course, was on Christmas break. The supervisor's doing it. After much discussion, I was convinced he was okay. He wasn't okay. Stripped the floors, they dried out, they totally ruined them. I got a call from them that Monday. It's $50,000 to replace these floors, to
Oh,
pull them. Oh, yeah. And I was, needless to say, a little sick to my stomach. Not much of a Christmas gift.
yeah.
So guess who I called? I picked up the phone, and at that time was coastwide, and called my old buddy Dave Heron and said, Dave, got a problem. Can you meet me out at the plant? Met me out at the plant. Said, I've got a solution. I said, what is it? He said, trust me, it will work. I'm not going to go into all the chemical details. He said, I'll get it on site for you. I'll show you how to use this stuff. And it basically, and I'm not going to say, because I'm not going to give anybody any ideas now, they'd probably get arrested for. But the chemicals we use pop the color back on the floor. You probably know what we did, Larry.
Yep. Yep.
Popped the color back in, dried out, sealed it. And within 2 weeks, they looked at it and said, nope, everything's fine. It's absolutely perfect.
What a lifesaver. Wow.
And I'm telling you, yeah, well, they flat told me 50,000, we got to put it up.
Yeah.
And, pull it up rather. And I'm going, oh, and I know what that meant because I've done that. I said, oh, geez, okay. So, yeah, but that's just one example in 40 years of doing this. I could go on for hours, seriously, about times in carpets. And when I've had to pull an expert, and again, they're not sitting there waiting for you, as we've said, at the online places and the big box stores.
Right.
You better have that expert on your staff. And this was well into at that point in time, we'd been in business almost 10 years, so we weren't new. But you get new problems as you grow. And people.
one of the things I firmly believe in is having one source. Okay, so I've got my one Jansan source, and that representative, my partner, knows everything that I'm using. He or she knows what's going to work with what I'm already using and getting me the best deals on things. And I remember when I first started out, somewhere I got a supply list of everything I was going to need to stock, took it into my Jansan, my local person, and he sat down with me and he said, you don't need this, you don't need this, you don't need this.
That's a good guy.
These 4 things, that's all you need, not 13. So I'm a believer, and I really encourage my clients to partner up with a local Jansan company to make their life easier.
Well, these are all the good things, okay? I still want to know, did anybody shoot that idiot that came up with polyurethane on floors? Did anybody shoot that idiot? Okay. All right. Or what about special keys for the toilet paper dispenser?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
God.
Oh, my God.
Well, clean one of those polyurethane things? What a mess.
Oh, that was awful, that polyurethane. That was
I can remember a job at St. Vincent's College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. They had quarry tile through a huge main area. and someone come in and misinformed them, and they put a polyurethane over top of this beautiful ceramic quarry tile,
Oh,
and
geez.
it, of course, it began to peel. Well, and that's an
Yeah,
example of you better get the right person to help you, because
yeah.
that person took them down the wrong path. This was so long ago that I remember we used a product that's no longer on the market, methylene chloride,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
to
Yeah.
Furniture
strip
stripper.
all of that off of
Yeah.
the floors. It was a humongous project, all because they had bad information from a Jansan guy. Told them, you know, so who you choose is vitally important
Mhm.
too. They're not, all of us guys out there aren't equal.
Right.
Yeah, no, the folks that are in for the long haul are not going to guide you away from to make a quick buck. They're just not going to do that.
Right.
That's not going to happen. That methylene chloride, that was an absolutely awful chemical.
Oh,
That
you
was a
get a drop
horrible,
of that
horrible
on
deal.
your skin and it would burn a hole to your bones. It
That
was
was
Wow.
so
just awful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For our listeners, Larry, you've talked to all these points, but I'd like to pull them together.
yes.
What would you say are the top 5 or 7 attributes? We're going to go out and, let's say, find ourselves a good Jansan partner, okay, supplier. What are the top 5 things they need to look for when they're vetting a company that they're going to work with, a one source to help them be part of their team?
Well, I think about Southwest Airlines when you say that, because
Okay.
they had a wonderful philosophy is you hire for attitude, not aptitude. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the classroom, but you certainly have to know what you're doing in this industry. So, number one, I think, is honesty and integrity.
Mhm.
Combine those two together. And
Mhm.
if you have any level of intelligence, I think you're going to be able to see through the guy who's trying to BS you and tell you how great he is. Uh, Product knowledge, I think, is critical.
Hmm.
If I were to quiz a Jansan guy, I'd like him just very simply talk to me about pH value and
Hmm.
how it works in our world. That's probably the most simplistic thing, but it enhances everything. If I'm in a bathroom, do I use a neutral pH? Do I use a acidic cleaner? Blah blah blah. So no, yeah, there's always been battles over stripping floors. Do I need a neutralizer on the floor? Well, if we know that the pH level of the stripper is 12 point something and your sealer is 8.2, you need to reduce that pH on that floor somehow, some way. I'd like to use a neutralizing agent, which was slightly acidic. It would bring the pH of that floor into a better location. So, and why do you do that? Is so that the seal or seal slash finish that you put on the floor is going to stick and last longer.
Hmm.
You know, a little bit of knowledge about that type of stuff can be critical.
Mhm.
So I don't know, how do you find that guy? That would be a better question for you all. How did you find that guy?
Trial and error. I don't have
Yeah,
any.
Yeah, trial and error.
I just tried to befriend people. Sales is not about selling stuff. Sales
Right.
is about, I said it earlier, it's about serving other people. And I tried to become a friend of the person that I was talking with, the building service contractor. I wanted you to know that I had your best interest in mind. Of
Mhm.
course, you have to have knowledge too. You can't just be Mr. Nice Guy and not know what the hell you're talking about. But
Yeah.
so it's a combination of a little bit of all of that stuff.
I got a question. What do you think about BSCs reselling supplies to their own clients? Could you address that a little bit?
That's more of an individual. It can be so different with so many companies. There's a little bit that you have to dig into about that.
But we're merging now with office supplies.
Yes.
Office supplies are now, for some reason, married to cleaning supplies. And I'm not sure exactly how well that happened, but,
Yeah.
it's definitely happened.
I think that's like me going into the kitchen and selling meat and vegetables in the kitchen. I know
Okay.
how to clean the kitchen. You don't want to call on me to sell you your meat and buy those products there. If you want to buy them from me, I'll go get them somewhere. And that's the same with the paper products and those types of things. Now, we're a full supply Jansan house, so we'll get you whatever you need. We'll be full service for you, but I want to stay in the lane that I know best. And that is from your driveway on in, I can help you. I remember one of the things that I learned early on too was find out where the manager's office is and find out where he parks his car. And from there to there, that place better be spotless.
And the president of the corporation and all the C-suite, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
Ed, I'll take a shot at answering your question. I went both ways. We actually did get heavy into supplies at one time. When
Yes.
we had the warehouse and everything else, wasn't worth it. Now, this was way back, because when you look at it, it's got to be put in your warehouse, it's got to be inventoried, then you've got to truck it out. And
right,
as things moved into the 90s towards the 2000s, just in time delivery, why
right.
bother? You can sell it to them. And then if you're doing enough volume, we just worked in partnership and they left enough room for us to put a reasonable markup on it because we were moving a lot of volume. And it was easy. You call it up and I'd call up and say, hey, Larry, I need, 200 pallets of this dropped off at the XY. Boom, it's there. We don't have any
Right.
storage. You don't touch it. Our people inventory it and bring it in. So I don't see a lot of sense in selling it. They're two different businesses,
I have to.
It was good money, not big money, but it was good money for us.
but they're different
I
businesses. Yeah.
I agree
Yeah,
with
no,
that.
no two ways about it.
Yeah.
Again,
So-
I agree with that aspect, Mark. Depending, and that's why I said every account is so different. You have to look into a lot of aspects of each customer. I always promoted, let me handle your inventory. It's particularly if you're a new guy, a small company. I have a warehouse. When you need it, I should know when you're going to need it. That's
Right.
part of what I do. Is I know when your inventory should be decreasing and it's time for me to supply it. So that's like I'm being a whole nother person on your staff. I'm your warehouse manager. I'm your truck driver. I don't think you can afford to create a warehouse. That's what we do. We'll
Right.
bring it to you when you need it. It'll be there.
Right.
We made a little bit of money, and it was worth it because we weren't actually warehousing anything. All we would do is pick up a phone,
Right.
and they would drop ship it to wherever it was, leave the packing slip, send us the bill, and then we would rebill for it.
Yeah, there
So
were
I'm
many.
not sure why it was. Yeah.
There were many customers I did that for.
Yeah, there was another thing was the difference between the local guys and the big box stores. Give us two big reasons that we should be dealing with local people.
Well, the main two things I think of immediately is I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put my blue jeans on and I'm going to come help you. You're not getting that from a big box store.
No, never.
Plus, you have to go pick that stuff up and get it there and all of that hoopla. I think just the fact that I'm going to be there, I'm going to be in my jeans, I'm going to help you control your inventory, and that's what our job is to do.
Mm-hmm. Now,
excuse me, let me add this other thing too. Price is always something that every janitor supply company thinks about. How cheap is it? And that goes back to the misconception of low bid buying. We always had a special pricing for BSCs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a reputable Jansan house, they have special pricing for you guys because we know we want to keep the cost down. Or in your case, Ed, you want to resell it and make a few pennies. We can set it up that way. But we always had a building service contractor price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think in closing, what else? Larry, I'll give you the last word. So rather than do the scrub down and everything, we'll hear from Larry today.
Well,
You got the audience; they're listening. So, what's your advice? And again, we're talking to companies. We're not talking to huge companies here that have a lot of buying power, but to your normal size, your companies that are running $1 million to 5, 6 million, good local, regional, or local companies. What do you have to say to them? We'll let you have the last word.
thank you. I appreciate that, Mark. Again, it all goes back to relationship. If I'm a building service contractor in this day and age, I'm going to find my local Jansen houses, whether there's one, two, three, or four, whatever, it depends on where you live. I'm going to get in there and meet those people. I'm going to share with them what I'm attempting to do, or in the middle of doing, or in the beginning stages of doing. And I'm going to talk to them and see what, I'm going to question them. What do you offer to a guy like me? And see if they're going to be a fit for me. And of course, you have to be able to cut through the BS when you're doing that.
Of course.
So honestly, I can't overemphasize how critical it is for a show like this with, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of experience times
Each.
3.
Sitting here, we've got about 160 to 170 years of experience
Yeah.
when you stick all of us together. Yes.
Right. And each one of you is there available to reach out to that Jansen house too. So if I'm a Jansen house, I'm calling Sharon or Ed or Mark, and asking how do I do it? What do I do? But I think that's, you find out who's in your marketplace and you go talk to them and,
Right.
one-on-one, look them in the eye. It's wonderful to do Zoom and all that stuff, but I guess I'm old school. I like to sit down and talk to a man or a woman and look them in the eye and hear the inflection of their body language and look around their office and see what they're reading. And you can tell a lot by sitting in a man or woman's office.
See, this is why I used to keep the Weekly World News on a coffee table in front of a sofa in my office.
Yes.
Yeah. Here you go. The aliens that met George Bush and all that stuff. So I'd keep that there, and because then they're wondering, who is
Yeah,
this guy?
absolutely. I thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to be with you all. I follow each of you on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever the heck I can search you out. I've been watching your podcast since day one, and it's, I'm out of the industry, but I'm keeping my ear to the ground, and, I'm always available if somebody needs help.
Nobody ever leaves. Nobody ever really leaves. Look,
No.
all of us are supposed to be done, and look what we're doing here.
Every time I walk into a restaurant, my wife says, "Okay, I'll see you in a minute," because she knows the first thing I'm going to do is go look at the bathroom. I'm going to try and get a peek in the kitchen as I'm passing also.
Yes.
Not that I'm selling anything, but it's just my nature.
Right. Right. And sometimes you turn around and walk out because you say no.
I've done that.
If you've ever cleaned a kitchen, even in a 5-star restaurant, and you really knew what went on back there, you wouldn't eat there anyway. Trust me. We've had plenty of those.
I had dinner with a group of friends in Tennessee the night before we left, and I said, they had an open kitchen, and I said, that's so nice because you don't want to know what's in some of them.
Well, Larry, thank you for your time. You've graciously given. It's been a great time talking with you. Thanks for doing it the second time. For those listening, we did it the first time and we had a big snafu and lost everything. So we've got that fixed. Thank you for taking the time. We hope to have you come back again. Any thoughts, drop them in. Be sure to subscribe. And with that, we're all going to say adios. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you very much.